A very warm welcome to this World Game Changers podcast, where your host, Paul D. Lowe, embraces many crucial conversations that compassionately contribute towards creating a better life and world. Paul's intention is very simple: to help get people's inspirational insights and motivational messages out into the world so others may benefit.
So Collins Mureithi from Kenya, Africa. Collins, a very warm welcome. And as part of this WGC Impact Summit, I really want to ask you to tell us around what's going on. It's because, we spoke about things in Africa and we've agreed it's criminal what's happening in Africa. Give us an insight into that, Collins, if you will.
Thank you so much, Paul. And I believe one of the things that is happening in Africa that is actually termed as criminal is the bad leadership. We have a lot of leaders who are politicians. And one of the things that is defined as African, that we have so many politicians who are not leaders. And we tend to choose politicians before leaders. For example, there was Nelson Mandela, who was a leader who became a politician, So there is that different thing that is happening whereby many Africans do not understand who exactly is the right leader. So we find ourselves choosing politicians before leaders, and it has led to a lot of accumulation of wealth, taking advantage of the communities and taking advantage of the resources that are supposed to be used in the community. So I think one of the major things that is badly happening in Africa is the bad leadership that we are seeing each and every day. And that is what is contributing to a lot of the injustices in the country, in the communities, making people to suffer because of bad leadership. Yes, Paul.
So is that just in Kenya then, Collins, or is that throughout Africa generally? And is it just down to politicians? Is it that simple? What do we do? What is it we can do as World Game Changers to really dig down into the heart of the matter and make life better for so many people, irrespective of where they are in Africa?
Okay, Paul, it's not only in Kenya. I just give an example because that is what is happening in our country when I see, but it is all in Africa. We mingle with different people from Africa, the different founders of organizations, the different community developers in other African countries. And these are some of the things that we really want to help our community to understand. These are the same problems that we are going through. So I think as WGC, what we are doing already, we are sensitizing the community members on understanding what is the right definition of leadership. What can we do about it, and what is the purpose, what is the motivation of you being a leader? So we want to bring the mindset of serving your community without expecting anything, Paul, because that is what we see every day. I come to a leadership space so that I can mobilize, I can accumulate a lot of resources for my own personal gain. And I think one of the things that we are doing, and I'm happy even as WGC, some of us who are in that platform, we are sensitizing and training and having those conversations with the community members just to understand exactly what is the definition of the right leadership. And it doesn't only mean in politics at all. It is everywhere, like this is something that all of us are seeing our leaders doing, and most of the people now try to understand this is the normal that is happening. So what do? When I got a chance to lead, for example, an institution, I use that institution to be able to mobilize resources, to be able to take advantage of people and get more for me, but not for the community. So I'm glad that we are trying to see how do we have this conversation for people to understand exactly why do I need to understand the right definition of leadership, and why is it important as a leader to be in the community and help other members of the community? Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, and as you know, Collins, here at WGC, we believe the first step in anything is raising awareness. Because if you're not aware of anything, how can you change it? So that's the first step. So I want to ask you, excuse me, I want to ask you, Collins, the things that we do like podcasts, and asking, your fellow Africans to contribute to books and stories and chapters. To what degree do you feel that helps, Collins? Because you really are at the sharp end of these challenges, and you are very, very well placed to comment on that. Does it help at all in awareness raising?
Yeah, that is powerful because, Paul, there's a powerful strategy that podcast come with, like sharing, why WGC comes in a center of problems and solutions of Africans in the community. For example, like personally, when I interview founders of organizations, and maybe you are the person who is in the middle, I think that really makes a point whereby you can be able to tell us what is really happening in your place. We can be able to tell you what is really happening in our country, and we can be able to have that conversation, learn from one another, And as far as I'm concerned, I love about the WGC family because most of the people there, they are servant leaders, something that we as Africans would really want to understand and also be able to practice that. So I believe one of the platforms that we are, as the WGC, are using to build Africans, and especially podcast, and also just having our monthly meetings like what we have, Paul, it is really powerful because at the end of the day, we can actually feel that these different Africans who are also doing amazing work in the community can also learn and also help from you guys. What is happening in your countries? Why is it a developed country, even if it's not 100%, but why is it like there is some percentage whereby it is okay, and African, we are still behind? So I think in the matter of awareness creation, that is very important, Paul, exchanging ideas, learning from one another through the podcast of different legs, and also through our meetings, monthly meetings, whereby we just try to understand and learn from one another. How can we be better people in the community?
It's that term there, Colin, servant leader. What's your, for people that may not have heard that phrase before, what's your interpretation of what that actually means, servant leadership?
I think servant leadership for me is whereby a person discovers his purpose, and that person is able to share or serve his or her purpose without expecting anything, Paul. Because at the end of the day, it is through love, service to humanity through love, and that is, I think, that is one of the purpose of each and every one of us in this world. So I think most of the Africans and most of the people that I've mingled with is the problem is not about servant leadership, but the problem is about understanding what exactly is servant leadership. So somebody will talk about, I'm a servant leader, but at the end of the day, when you look at the deeds, when you look at what that person is engaging on, definitely you will feel that this is not a servant leader, but it is a transactional leader, whereby I want to get into that leadership space. And before I think about serving humanity through love and helping others, you find I think about how can I get more from that place? How can I accumulate more for my own benefit and selfish interest? So I think in a nutshell, servant leadership is about understanding who you are and knowing exactly that I need to use my purpose to be able to help other people make their life better. Okay.
We hear a lot, Collins, around corruption that takes place in Africa, brown envelopes being pushed under tables and, bribery and all that kind of thing. Is that a true reflection of really what does happen? Because there's also this perception that, just send us a load of money and it'll solve all the problems. But actually the money and the resources that it can buy doesn't really get to where it's meant to be. Is that a true reflection? Is that a true statement?
Yes, Paul, I think it is true, because that is something that we are really trying to fight. We are really trying to educate the community just to move away from corruption. And as I always say, is the generation that is before our leaders, I'm talking about the kids, the young people, are watching what the leaders and also the people in the influence are doing. And you see, as a young person, as a child, you will always ape your leader. You will always find yourself being influenced by what is happening. So I think as many of our leaders are corrupt, many of our leaders are engaged in corrupt activities. This really affects the young people, it affects the children, and it makes the world, the community in Africa to be really, really in a bad state. Because I think, as I told you, it is again goes back to bad leadership, because you will find that people in influence or leaders are taking advantage of self-interest and wanting to have the whole of this community. I want to own the half of this community because I'm selfish, but you don't want to think about other people. So I can say it is really happening. But I'm glad that we are trying to have those conversations and try to ask people, hey, why are you doing this at the end of the day? If we have equal resources in the community, why are you taking 3/4 of the resources that belongs to vulnerable children and you use it for your own selfish ways? So I think it is happening, Paul, but I'm glad we are starting to have those conversations on how can we even go back from the corruption, and how also to make people understand how is corruption also affecting our communities, because it is different between just knowing what is corruption and the effects of corruption in a community. Yes.
Is it too simplistic, Collins, to suggest that really investing in youth, the future, and showing them our hearts, and rather than our money? Because there's this, I think, throughout the world, this global perception that money will solve all the problems, and for me, my experience of life is it absolutely does not. It really does not. But the one thing that does help to make the world more understandable, more better, more tolerable is love. And when we talk about the heart of youth, is that the answer, Collins, to invest in the future, to invest in youth, to show them our hearts, to show our compassion, to show our love? Is it as simplistic as that?
Yeah, I think it is, because one of the things I believe, Paul, as a young person, I always believe I need to invest in myself to understand exactly what is love. I need to take time to understand how to serve humanity through love, because that will help me, Paul, to be able even to think about serving people without expecting anything, something that I always insist. So this will make the young people, first of all, to understand what we are doing is not about me, it's not about my family, it's not about my interest, but it's about making other people's life better at the end of the day. So the starting point should be me serving my purpose through love at the end of the day, so that when you also get some resources, it will not now control you, Paul, because we find people who understand exactly what they want to do through serving their purpose into humanity. We believe that these people, when they get even small resources, that it might not even be money, but even people think that you have to help the community with. Let's say you are given a tank to help a certain widows in the community. Because you understand the power of service to humanity through love, you will not take that tank and take it in your house for your own selfish interest. You will know that this is a tank that belongs to the widows in the community, and I have to give them so that it can make their lives better. So I think that is very important. When we first of all invest in love, we invest in skills, we invest in ideas. It is very important, Paul, so that people can really understand that we need to first of all start by investing myself and working and serving my purpose through love. Thank you, Paul.
It is literally down to the heart of youth, isn't it? Investing in the future, as you say, first of all, investing in ourselves, investing in youth. Yeah, it really is. Okay, so I kind of want to open this up a little bit, Collins, and say, let's be a little bit more graphic now and tell us about some, there again, we hear the sensationalism of, barbaric issues like FMG to young girls, for example. Yet again, I mean, how real is that? We hear about suicides amongst young people, desperation, even basic sanitation generally, and certain sanitary wear for young girls, not being able to have that, missing school, missing out on the education, teen pregnancies, very, very early age. I mean, yet again, Collins, tell us the reality of this. Is this really what happens?
Thank you so much, Paul. That is a topic that is very dear to my heart. And yes, it is happening, actually. It is happening, and there's a difference between urban setup and rural setup. So it happens a lot in rural setups, the grassroots communities. And one of the things that I will say, like, for example, personally in my community in the eastern part of Kenya, there is a lot of female genital mutilation, what we call FGM, happening. And one of the reasons that is happening, it is also political, because I think some of the leaders who are in the influence are also taking advantage to empower the community to understand what FGM, because one of the things that is contributing for them to do that is they are the forefathers, they are the family members of some of the people who are doing FGM. So and the ideas, they go and present them, but the implementation part of now putting them into laws becomes a very big problem. Secondly, Paul, there's a lot of lack of information, lack of sensitization. People really focus on issues to deal with, maybe agriculture, issues to deal with health, small time, but they don't want to go through the deep conversation about why is it happening? Why is it this FGM? So I think when we talk about the mental health, Paul, when we talk about teenage pregnancy, yes, it is happening, Paul, and I can tell you that is why some of us have started to take initiative personally, because when we think of waiting and just looking for the government and looking for other institutions to solve the problems, it is gonna take time. So that is why we said we will use whatever we have so that we can have these conversations with the leaders, with the elders of the institutions in the churches, in a mosque, religious leaders, with stakeholders, so that we can really have this conversation. Why is that happening? Where are the resources that are supposed to be used when we find this? We also engage the police, because the police are very key. When somebody is raped, a young girl, for example, I had a 2 case the last 2 days. A young girl, 16, was raped by the uncle. But you find the uncle is going to the police and bribing them, and this girl lacks justice. So those are the things we want to talk about them. Those are the things we want to ask. Why is it that when we report these cases, and then these person comes and pays corruption, then you forget. So we can actually fight as civil society organization and make justice. And I'm happy that lady, that girl was able to be helped, because we were able to contribute a lot of force so that that man can be put behind the bus. So those are the things that I'm telling you, Paul. It is really happening, and I'm happy and really hoping that one day you will come. WGC members will visit Africa, and we will take you down and even see people who have recovered from FGM, and they are now agents of positive change in the community, just empowering the community. Also, people who have gone through mental health and all those things. So I think, Paul, it is happening. Thank you.
I suppose as we start to, raise this awareness, Collins, for, this amazing gathering at the summit, these beautiful, beautiful, compassionate people, because that love and compassion really is the answer. And I kind of make no apologies for keep repeating that over and over and over again, irrespective of whether it's this summit, whether we're in Africa, doesn't matter where we are in the world, because, the risk of sounding cliched, love makes the world go around. So as we start to come towards a close, you're very instrumental within the WGC family now, Collins. We're growing our presence in Africa, our conversations around Africa, as you know, because you're right at the heart of them, particularly with anything to do with youth. So with that, Collins, I just want to try and, for people that are at the summit today, to try and get an essence and appreciation of how WGC is actually helping, rather than just having nice conversations, because it's very easy for us to have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, the other side of the world, and pass comment and judgment. Oh, well, this is not really nice. Young girls getting raped, FGM issues. Yeah, it's very sad, but actually not doing anything about it. And as you know, so when we talk about awareness raising, the other side of that, the complete is right. Okay, what action are you doing? And evaluating that action. Is it working? And if it's not working, right, okay, we change it, because it needs to work and it needs to be in service to humanity. So I just want from you, Collins, because you really are, as I've already said, at the sharp end of all these issues, is, to what degree is WGC helping Africa in your mind?
I think, Paul, one of the things that I can say, and I'm always inspired by WGC, is because one is meeting the right people. I'm saying partnership, like meeting the right people. For example, when I meet you, when I meet Martin, for example, Andrew, and just sitting down and having that conversation. First of all, let's start by that conversation, that meeting with people. I'm able to understand that actually, there are people who are actually serving humanity through love, because most of the things that we see in Africa is not really having those people who think, I can serve without anything. I can serve without not getting one of the things. I can't serve without getting money, So one of the things that really helps in Africa is the servant leadership that we see through WGC members. Paul, I can tell you, you guys, when we look at you, it doesn't matter if we have met with you or not, but when I look at you, when I look at Martin, when I look at Andrew and all the WGC family, I can actually learn servant leadership silently without you telling me. So that is very important, Paul. That is very important, because when I have introduced my fellow young change makers and founders of organization and leaders, I don't have to tell them about Paul is a leader, Paul is so and so. No, they will just examine, Paul, the way you talk, the way you package your words, the way you are able to put yourself, and they say, hey, Paul looks to be a great person. Paul is a leader, and I would love to be like Paul. So that is very important, Paul. So how you carry yourself in the WGC is very important, and it is training us to understand the art of servant leadership, something that I'm really, really passionate about for my fellow young Africans to understand, Paul. And again, secondly, I would also say that the level of knowledge and also experience that the WGC members have, it is very key, Paul, because at the end of the day, for example, let me talk about personally, like the issues to deal with fundraising. I am a founder of a grassroots organization. And one of the things that has really struggled with me, I struggle with, is issues of resource mobilization and fundraising for the organization. Hey, so I met a person in the WGC family who I've never met. You are the one who introduced me, called Martin. Martin has been able to mentor me for the last 4 weeks without me paying him, and is giving me a lot of information. Paul, I can say this guy is blessed with information about fundraising. He's doing it out of heart. He's giving me his own resources that he has used, for the last 30 years. Somebody giving you his book, that is wealth. I'm supposed to buy it, but he's giving me. What can I say, Paul? I can say these are some of the things that WGC is helping Africans. I can be able to share that book with others. I have already done it. I have already done the videos on how they can also support themselves in fundraising, in managing their organization, and also serving, So I can say, Paul, WGC is helping us also in bringing us Africans together, something that is very important, bringing us together and telling us, hey, I know you have problems, but at the end of the day, we cannot solve all your problems, but this is what you can do. This is what you can do through what you are giving us, Paul, what I've talked about. So I can say WGC is a center whereby we as African are really, at the end of the day, it is WGC that enabled me to say the founders of organization, the grassroots young founders. And I was able to say, hey, I have hope, because I had brought all of them together and I didn't know what to do with them. Collins, what do we need to do? You seems you're doing well in your organization. I was not doing well, just working on at the journey in Africa. I believe whatever has happened right now, it is going to multiply, and I'm sure there will be positive impact in the community. Thank you.
What's interesting, Collins, as you know, I mean, we're now in advanced talks around forming WGC Africa, and you're going to be an integral part of that. There are other people like Megan, one of our directors, and Crystal, as you know, and yourself, and and many more, and Dr. Art McCoy, very instrumental in bringing that together. I'm so sorry, Collins, you couldn't be with us in person. As you know, we've tried, we talk around administration, bureaucracy. We've tried to get the visa in time to fly you in and be part of this amazing summit gathering. Alas, that wasn't possible, wasn't meant to be. But, once your visa's here, Collins, I certainly look forward to welcoming you to the UK. I know I speak for Andrew in that respect, Rebecca. And on the note of Rebecca, I just want to say that, with your permission, Collins, that she accepts an award on your behalf called the Heart of Youth Award. And it's our first one this year at the summit. There's going to be 4 awards later on in this gathering. And we have decided to award that award. That sounds a bit of a mouthful, doesn't it? Award that award to a certain gentleman, an amazing spirit gentleman, a servant leader, if you will, in Kenya by the name of Collins Mureithi. And Rebecca will be receiving that later on today on your behalf, keeping it safe. And when you come over to the UK, Collins, it'll be there ready and waiting for you.
Wow, I'm so happy, Paul. Thank you so much, because I just it reminds me where I've come from as a person, as a world game changer. And when I was starting, Paul, I didn't think about anything. I didn't think about what will I get out of what I'm doing. I just decided to serve the community and say, hey, I want my community to be better. So when you award me this thing, the WGC, it really, really, I don't take it for granted, because you see, when you serve humanity through love, and you don't think about maybe what am I supposed to get, or how are they supposed to pay me. You see, there are people who are looking at what you are doing, and actually this is one of the motivations that will also make me to continue doing what I'm doing, Paul, because even imagine being recognized internationally. It's not even Africa, it is international, and we've never met, it is just by seeing what I do. So I think I'm so happy, Paul, and I believe this is just the beginning. And I know one day, through God's blessing, I will be in the UK. I will be there, and we will have many, many conversations. And I say thank you so much, Paul, and to the WGC family. I'm so proud of you guys, and this means a lot to me, and looking forward for more engagements. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, Collins. And I just want to sign off now by hopefully humorously saying, when you do come to the UK, and I do this with visitors, whether they're from the UK or not, international visitors, and recently done it with Martin, your welcoming present will be, and you can research this on the internet, a cup of English tea and a packet of McVitie's hobnobs. And it doesn't get any better than that, Collins. And on that humorous note, thank you so much, and look forward to speaking soon, my brother. Thank you, Collins.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thanks very much for listening to this World Game Changers podcast episode. Hopefully you found it interesting and helpful. Drop a line to Paul at worldgamechangers.org with any thoughts or questions you may have, and he'll be more than happy to respond. Remember, the world's changing. How will you respond?